It's Thursday, February 11th, and time for your Barbados Today morning news update. The 2-week COVID-19 lockdown, which is expected to end next Wednesday, could see Barbados posting some $50 million in losses. In an overview of the economic impact of last year's lockdown and the potential fallout from the current shutdown, Minister in the Ministry of Finance Ryan Strawn said his forecast is based on the average spend per week across the economy, which he hopes does not decline any further. Emmanuel Joseph has the story.
Minister Strawn expressed some fears that the economic impact could turn out to be even worse when one considers that, unlike in the earlier lockdown, supermarkets are closed on weekends and public markets are also out of business during the national pause. He said that on the basis of everything that has gone on to date, he estimates that the aggregate loss is just over $50 million for the 2 weeks of the current lockdown. However, he says he's making the prediction guardedly because, unlike the last shutdown, the market has been closed this time and supermarkets are also closed on Saturdays and Sundays for the 2 weeks. Strawn told Barbados Today this is assuming that the average spend drops from $167 million per week to $141 million. He's hoping that the reduction in average spending per week does not decline any further because government is anxious to start to rebuild and have the economy recover as quickly as possible. Strawn also noted that the Barbados economy lost just under $1.5 billion in 2020, which he linked to the shutdown in tourism business. But he told Barbados Today that even though the local economy has started at a much lower level in 2021 than it did last year, and at any given point in recent history, there's light at the end of the proverbial tunnel between the latter part of this year and into 2022. He explained that 2021 was always intended to be potentially a better year, if not only because of the change in the presidency in the United States, which has already started to see adjustments with respect to the management of the COVID-19 pandemic. As a result, the minister said the Barbados government anticipates that the leadership which was absent globally would now translate into better coordination internationally and therefore allow 2021 into 2022 to be a much better experience for the world economy. At the same time, Strawn has issued a plea to Barbadians to comply with the health protocols so that whatever economic activity the country can muster would help to keep it afloat through the end of this year. Emmanuel Joseph for Barbados Today.
In other news, government said it is still pursuing other brands of vaccines against COVID-19, and a committee has been formed to ascertain the suitability of future jabs for Barbadians. This as officials begin the rollout of the island's vaccination program with the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. Speaking at the latest COVID-19 update, head of the COVID Communications Unit, Ambassador Liz Thompson, said the committee's role will be to examine factors for other vaccines and make recommendations to government.
A vaccination committee under the chairmanship of Dr. Kenneth Connell, and who is a clinical pharmacologist and deputy dean with the University of the West Indies. Ms. Miriam Hines, who is in charge of the Barbados Drug Service. Dr. Ingrid Cumberbatch, who has been deeply involved in COVID-19 matters and is a senior medical officer of health with responsibility for the south of Barbados. Another representative of the University of the West Indies will be on this committee, as will, I believe, Dr. Elizabeth Ferdinand, who has been coordinator of the National Committee. And that group is going to be examining the various types of vaccine available across the globe and making determinations as to which ones are best for us and when, in fact, we should pursue them.
Thompson said another committee has also been formed to focus on the chronic non-communicable diseases facing specific groups.
There will be a second committee that will look at persons 18 to 70 years old in Barbados who have chronic non-communicable diseases. This is a particular problem in our national health profile, and we will speak to these committees in the future.
Meantime, a public health specialist and co-coordinator of the National COVID-19 Vaccination Campaign, Dr. Elizabeth Ferdinand, said the University of the West Indies is expected to conduct a study on the efficacy of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine on people 64 years and older.
As far as I'm aware, the university is supposed to be looking at doing such a study. And hopefully they will come up with some type of answer. But we have to look at the number of cases and the severity of those cases in the over 65s that will occur after we've done our rounds of vaccination. So it's a trial and error in a sense, but that's how I think the old traditional way. Yes, we're going to hopefully be able to get some scientific evidence, but we will look at the figures post-vaccination.
Nurses are ready to further escalate industrial action if government does not hurriedly address their grievances. So says the union leader, Senator Caswell Franklin, who heads the Unity Workers Union. On Tuesday, scores of nurses stayed away from work in protest against several long-standing issues and a delay in the payment of hazard pay. And while they returned to work on Wednesday, Senator Franklin is urging government to come to the table as soon as possible.
I would like them to respond as soon as possible. Tomorrow will be too late. But I will tell you, I have heard from the Director General. I don't know if the meeting that she will have on later on this month, on the 25th, that the nurses action had anything to do with that, because these were supposed to be monthly meetings. The last monthly meeting that we had with the Director General was May last year. And then out of the blue, they are told, oh, that you have a monthly meeting, but a monthly meeting, no. So I don't know if the nurses, I'm prepared to sit down and put fresh proposals to the Director General so that we can get some of these matters dealt with and dealt with speedily. If they're not, we will have to take action. And the nurses are willing, ready, and able, because they are being misled and abused for too long.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To news from the region, the Ministry of Health suspends at-home isolation for persons in St. Lucia suffering from mild symptoms of COVID-19 as authorities try to get a handle on a spike in cases of the viral illness. We get more in this report from HTS News Force.
Persons with mild forms of the COVID-19 virus will no longer isolate at home. They will instead be placed at repurposed hotel sites effective immediately. The Health Ministry sought to explain the reason behind the change in the model of care. Public health officials say the decision was based on the growing number of cases and protocol breaches.
In undertaking routine reviews of the national plan to manage the COVID-19 outbreak, which includes the treatment and care component, the Ministry of Health recognizes the need to adjust this model of care. There has recently been a large number of persons being managed in community. This, combined with the inadequacy of the homes to give the required isolation as well as breaches, has resulted in changes to the care of our confirmed cases. Home isolation is now being transitioned to state-based isolation facilities. Effective immediately, this change now means that mild cases are being placed within hotel sites, and the moderate to severe cases continue to be cared for within the National Respiratory Hospital.
Chief Medical Officer Dr. Sharon Belmar George says the move to hotel sites will ensure that COVID-19 patients are cared for more effectively.
And finally, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson issues an appeal for some 2 million people in the most at-risk groups in the country to take up government's offer to get vaccinated. Health officials are hoping that those in the priority groups will be vaccinated within the next 2 months.
With less than a week to go until the target date of Monday the 15th, there's no doubt we have made great strides, with just over 13 million people now vaccinated in our United Kingdom, including 1 in 4 adults in England, over 90% of everyone over 75, and over 90% of eligible residents of care homes for the elderly. But that still leaves nearly 2 million people, a population roughly twice the size of Birmingham, that we still hope to reach. And there are people across the country who, for one reason or another, haven't yet taken up their offer. So now is the moment to do it. These vaccines are safe and effective, and it was good to see the World Health Organization today confirm its support for the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine for use in everyone over the age of 18 and obviously everyone over 65. And also supporting the 12-week interval between the 2 doses. Indeed, they say the longer interval provides greater protection.
That's news. But for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.